everyone, I'm Caroline, and I'm excited to share my literature review exploring a fascinating question. Why do some health apps work brilliantly for older adults while others fall flat? Here's a striking puzzle. Nearly 9 out of 10 older adults know that walking is good for them, yet only 1 in 4 actually hit the recommended 150 minutes per week. That's a massive gap between intention and action. And for those with mobility limitations, this challenge becomes even more complex. Now, mobile apps should be the perfect solution, right? Personalized support, real-time feedback, available 24/7. But here's the problem. Research shows wildly inconsistent results. Some apps drive lasting change, others see users abandon them within weeks. So I wonder, why such dramatic differences? This led me to my research question. How do self-efficacy and executive function, two key cognitive factors, shape whether these apps actually work for older adults with mobility limitations? To investigate this, I turned to cognitive load theory, and it turned out to be the perfect lens. CLT tells us that our brains juggle 3 types of load: extraneous load from confusing interfaces, intrinsic load from the task itself, and germane load from actually learning new behaviors. The catch? All 3 compete for the same limited mental bandwidth. And here's where it gets really interesting for older adults. While younger people can hold about 7 items in working memory, older adults typically manage just 3 or 4. That's nearly half the capacity. So when an app overwhelms that limited space, people don't just struggle, they quit. 2 cognitive factors stood out as critical players. Executive function acts like a gatekeeper, determining how much mental load someone can handle. Self-efficacy is the motivator, fueling the confidence to keep going. Together, they shape whether an app helps or hinders. In this project, my research question evolved quite a bit. I started broadly with conversational AI and loneliness, but through helpful TA feedback, I narrowed down to this focused, mechanistic question about how these cognitive factors actually work. For my systematic review, I cast a wide net across 4 major databases, starting with nearly 3,000 papers. After rigorous screening, 21 high-quality studies made the final cut. What made the difference? Strict criteria. Studies needed older adults with mobility limitations, actual app interventions, and crucially, measurements of cognitive mediators over time. That last requirement filtered out the most papers because surprisingly few studies actually measured the why behind the results. 3 distinct pathways emerged from the data. Studies focused on executive function burden, studies targeting self-efficacy enhancement, and studies examining how both work together. And here's where I found something really surprising. I call it the CLT paradox. Complex apps with lots of features, they started strong at 78% of engagement, but crashed to just 23% by week 13. But simpler apps focused on building confidence, they held steady at 52%. The takeaway? What hooks user initially is completely different from what keeps them engaged long term. The numbers tell a compelling story. Users with executive dysfunction decline 3 times faster. In complex apps, executive function explained 34% of outcomes, but only 12% in simplified ones. And the winning combination? Low interface burden plus confidence-building features, which delivered 61% adherence and over 2,300 extra steps daily. So what's the solution? I developed the Cognitive App Matching Framework. The key insight here is there is no single best app design. It depends on the person. High cognitive capacity but low confidence? Give them rich analytics to build mastery. Limited capacity but motivated? Automate the hard stuff. But limited on both? It's okay, start simple with micro goals. And here's what I find most exciting. That growth trajectory arrow shows people can progress across profiles as their skills and confidence develop over time. What does this mean for cognitive science? 3 things. First, it validates CLT in a real-world health context. Second, it extends CLT by showing that different load types behave differently over time. And third, it pushes us towards precision, matching interventions to individual cognitive profiles. This challenges some common assumptions. More features? It's not always better. Full automation? That can actually backfire. One-size-fits-all design? It simply doesn't work. The future is precision matching. Of course, there are limitations. Definitions of mobility limitation varied across studies. Different measurement tools prevented meta-analysis, and CLT load types were inferred rather than directly measured. Future research has clear directions to pursue. So here's the big takeaway. When we match cognitive load to cognitive capacity, apps become powerful amplifiers of human capability. When we get it wrong, they undermine the very behaviors we're trying to support. Getting the match right, that's the key to truly personalized digital health. Thank you.